Hello, everyone. Mark Donaldson, Shaka, Hislop, dissecting the events of Anfield today. Liverpool won, Arsenal nil. A brilliant free kick from
Event.
Dominic Szoboszlai.
Yeah, I was about to
In
say
the
event at
in,
Anfield. There's no events. It's an event.
yeah, a wonderful free kick from Dominic Szoboszlai in the 83rd
That it
minute, and
was.
it was a goal that did not belong in that game, Shaka.
No, it didn't. Listen, two Premier League giants coming up against each other. It's not often we say 3 games in, you see a game of this magnitude that might have as much bearing as this as you feel on where the Premier League title might end up. And as a result, it kind of played out that way. It kind of played out like both teams had more to lose than to gain. And then up stepped Dominic Szoboszlai with the moment of pure genius, the only moment of pure genius, in all honesty, in this one. That delivered all 3 points to Liverpool. You felt that as this game went on, or the more it went on, the more you felt that if anybody was gonna snatch it, it would take a moment such as that. And Szoboszlai is the one who provided it.
With all the talent that was on show today, all the individual talent, why did we end up cumulatively with that?
We've seen this we've seen this time and time again
Yeah.
over the last few seasons, where big clubs come up and there's a real focus on negating the threat of the other from
Mhm.
both. And as a result, you have games that play out as this one did today. Now you can contrast that with the last time we saw Liverpool go up against Newcastle, and it was a very different dynamic. That game was all about the ongoing Alexander Isak saga, Newcastle responding, and as a result, Newcastle were playing a very high tempo, very aggressive, almost too aggressive in the case of Gordon, and Liverpool kind of being equal to it and matching it. And you had an outstanding game that again was decided, albeit by a moment of brilliance, but a 3-2 to make it 3-2 right at the end from Young Rio. This one was a different context. As I say, two teams who come into this kind of more focused on defensive stability, defensive, making sure that they didn't get that the other didn't get the better of them, um, and then hope for something on the other end. But in
Mm.
the end, as I say, but for one standout moment. Well, maybe that's not being fair. The standout moment certainly changed the last 8 to 10 minutes, if you want to include in injury time of the game. All of a sudden, the game came to life. Now, all of a sudden, Arsenal had everything to gain and nothing to lose by gambling. Liverpool had everything to lose, and so kind of sat in pretty deep. And then all of a sudden, we had a game on our hands. But for was it 80, 82, 83 minutes? This looked like a stalemate from beginning to end.
Yeah, look, it's early in the season. It's the third weekend or whatever it is, and it's not fatal for Arsenal. And
No, it's
something I
not.
want
It's
to
not. It's not.
something I want to point out, and it's a fantastic run for Arsenal. 22 games unbeaten before this against top six opponents. You have to go back to April 2023, their last loss, and that was 4-1 at Manchester City. That just shows their consistency. So, yes, it's frustrating for them. They probably would have been happy with a point as the game wore on, but it's not fatal.
No, it's not. It's not. And I think this game took on a different context. It's we, and as much as we discuss in this and might discuss what it means for the title race or whatever it may be, you're right. It's 3 games in. There's an awful lot of football to be played yet. But especially given what we saw from Manchester City earlier today. Now, I for one had the top three as being Liverpool, Arsenal, and Manchester City. And I felt you could throw a small blanket over the three of them at the end of the season. It would be that close. Then you see what City did um, earlier today against Brighton, coupled with what happened against Spurs last week, or whenever it was. Um, and you just wonder, is this a two-horse race? Are we really down to Arsenal and Liverpool this early? And as a result, because of that, this game took on a bigger context. But it doesn't change the fact that there are 35 league games to go. Throw throw in all the different cups, including the Champions League, in there. A testing of squad depth, which again you saw on evidence today. Both teams having to substitute centre halves. How will that play out? How will Eze's introduction play out? He brought off the bench with 70 minutes. You're expecting to play more minutes, of course, as we go forward. So there's still a lot. There is still a lot of settling in, for want of a better term, for both these teams.
Let's talk individuals. There's three I've identified. Let's start with Mohamed Salah. New contract earlier this season. How's his impact been for Liverpool at the start of this season when it's not come very late on, whether it's a late goal or a late assist?
Well, given the fact that Liverpool have been as good as they have been in the league, you take it. And while he hasn't contributed in the way that I did, and I thought he came to life a little bit late on in taking players on, almost more like a typical winger, a typical right winger that Mohamed Salah plays. Oftentimes we're discussing Salah drifting in on that left foot and the number of goals he scored, but it was a little bit more orthodox in that regard, in going one-on-one with defenders or 1v2 and trying to engage and sucker people into making challenges. So he kind of came to life late on. But you know what you're getting with Mo Salah. It's almost ridiculous. It's pretty ridiculous to criticize Mo Salah because we've seen this from him time and time again.
We're not criticizing, Shaq. Not criticizing.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. You know, the truth is, as we know him over the bigger piece, it wasn't as many a contribution as we expect. But again, and you know, I'm kind of talking to myself here. It almost feels futile criticizing Mo Salah because he's seen this time and time again. He would be quiet for 83 minutes and then pop up with the most incredible finish. And he's the difference. He is so often the difference between Liverpool drawing or losing and walking away comfortably with 3 points. So I'm not. Anything that happened today is not going to make my Mo Salah highlight reel, but that doesn't mean that he is any less impactful or important to Liverpool.
The point you can look at is that Liverpool won a game when Mohamed Salah wasn't at his best again. That's a worrying sign for everybody else in the league, because when he hits these straps again, then watch out. Victor Gyökeres, first game of the season, quiet, lacking service. Today didn't get involved that much. The game in the middle, he was very good. So what is it Arsenal are going to get with Gyökeres? Is it going to be a different player who's going to be far more involved in games that are going to have a lot more of the ball, and then games like this, he's going to have to do a little bit better? What do you think?
I think more times than not, it's going to be games like this. And while you described his performance against Leeds as very good, I was fairly critical last week. I was speaking to Alexis last week after Arsenal Leeds, and while yes, he scored two, well, one from a penalty spot and one in open play, I was more critical of Leeds defensively, and I said then that I'm not sold on Gyökeres, because I'm not sure that he's quick enough, he's mobile enough to really get the better of halfway decent Premier League defenders. Leeds were not that. Well, certainly were not that last week. And he got his 2 goals and everybody's raving about it, but I wasn't jumping on that bandwagon. And the reason was evidenced today. Against defenders who understand the game, who are quick, who can match him physically, I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's going to be a factor in those games at all. And let's be honest, he wasn't today at all.
I just wonder if there's an argument for Arsenal to have a more mobile front three. We've spoken so much over the past few years. Oh, Arsenal need a striker. But is there something to be said for games like this where you want a bit more mobility rather than a target man? You've got Eze now, you've got Shaka to come back, you've got Madueke, you've got Martinelli, Trossard, depending on what happens to him.
Hmm.
Is it might be a case in the bigger games that Arsenal and Arteta look at maybe more mobility rather than a target man?
But also today, I mean, in Arsenal's defense, maybe you can make the argument that had everybody been fit,
Yeah.
this front three come front four could be very different. So while you have that big physical target man, you could have Saka on the right, Eze on the left. You could drop Odegaard through the middle as the creative spark. If you wanted even more legs, you could tuck Eze through the middle, bring and have Martinelli on the left hand side, and then you have a ton of running in behind, a ton of very direct and skillful running in and around, well, behind and around Gyökeres. So there are options there for Mikel Arteta if everybody's fit. Not well, clearly Saka injured out for a few weeks yet. As is only just signed and just getting his feet sorted with Arsenal. So there's a lot that can change and maybe brings the best out of Gyökeres, or at the very least the best out of Gyökeres' role
Mhm.
in Arsenal's attack.
The other player I wanted to have a chat with you about is Florian Wirtz. Brilliant in the Bundesliga with Leverkusen. Some players take a little bit longer than others to
Yeah,
settle into
yeah,
to new surroundings. Is the message from Shaka Hislop to Liverpool fans, don't panic, he'll come good?
absolutely. Don't panic, come good. And the thing is, Wirtz at Leverkusen, the team was built around him.
Yeah.
So everything kind of came through Florian Wirtz. Now all of a sudden he's in a Liverpool team where that certainly is not the case. So much of Liverpool's play has gone through Mo Salah on the opposite side of the park. So now all of a sudden he's having to adjust to a new role in a new team. But there is nothing that suggests that Florian Wirtz is anything but one of the best footballers in a generation. I think it's only a matter of time where he shows that and he produces those performances for Liverpool. Again, it's just taking a little bit of time. New player, new club, new league.
That's Liverpool's first clean sheet at Anfield in the league since the start of April against Everton. That's just as big today as the win for them because they've looked a little bit shaky in their first two
Yeah.
league games. As a goalkeeper and as a defender, that's something that they can work on going forward. And maybe we didn't get the game we were looking for today because both managers maybe put a little bit more emphasis on defence.
Yeah, and exactly what we've come to expect
Yeah.
in games of this magnitude. And I'll keep saying it. We're talking about games of this magnitude. We're only 3 games in. So it may prove this may just prove a small bump in the road come May. But as of right now, and again, I think this game kind of took on a significance because of what you saw from Manchester City earlier, that these are the two best teams in the league. So I think, well, I do not for a moment believe that the City result changed anything about Sloth or Arteta's approach in this one. Probably didn't change how this game was. It didn't change how this game was played. That's what you've come to expect from Giants in this league when they come up head to head.
Transfer window closes on Monday. If they could sign somebody, is it Mark Gahey, the one that Liverpool really should go for?
Yes, without question. I think Liverpool still need cover defensively, particularly in that centre back position. I know there'll be huge question marks about who becomes the starting front, starting two centre backs. But that's a good problem for Slot to have. I think they desperately need cover, and today kind of highlighted that.
What about Arsenal? What do they need?
Um, a little bit more time, I guess, and they need Bukayo Saka to be fit. Um, and as much as they signed as a kind of an understanding as to how Saka's injury last season impacted Arsenal's own Titan ambitions, and to provide that option, I still think Bukayo Saka, even with Eze on the park, is still that important to Liverpool. So right to Arsenal, excuse me. So right now, while I'm reluctant to say that whether they need to go back in the transfer market, certainly I don't think today's game kind of highlighted that. Maybe again, how do they fare without Saliba? Um, Time will tell, but certainly the most important thing is for Saka to be fit. All in all, I think Arteta has built a very strong squad here, and this is, I'm thinking, Arsenal's best opportunity to win a title for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well, Shaka, away to Man United, albeit they've struggled, but 2 away games at Man United and Liverpool, and a home game against Leeds, which they took care of. That's 2 of the harder games out the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen, my concern for Arsenal, or let me say, my concern for Arsenal this season, before a ball was kicked, was they having to get a return from Gyökeres, a 30+ goal return from Gyökeres, which I'm not sure they're going to get right now. But at the same time, they have to be exactly as we saw them last season, very good defensively, and get a return from their defenders and up the other end of set pieces, and to avoid major and significant injury. This game was a blow, but now you've got 2 weeks. We see where Saka is when you come back off the international break, and then all of a sudden, I think that's when you really started to pass judgment on Arsenal. I think
Yeah.
Arsenal's title bid last season came unstuck with simply too many draws, which is why I think that out-and-out striker was an absolute need. Now, again, if you can put the pieces around Gyökeres, maybe you get a return, maybe you do get that 30-goal return, maybe you get 25. But he's not one to do it on his own. He needs to have those mobile pieces around him.
Yeah, there's no way that Arsenal are going to slide away. They just don't need to look back in anger at what happened today. And as for Liverpool, they've just got to roll with it. And you'll never guess I'm going to see Oasis tonight at MetLife, would you?
Oh, man. No, I wouldn't have guessed that at all.
No. Goodbye.